Ryan is always seeking to elevate the people around him as a person, as a performer. And so it really works when your scene partner is a cute little rock.
Project Hail Mary is a space epic about a teacher and a rock who are teaming up to save the universe from a terrible death. And here to talk to me are the directors of the movie, Chris Miller, Phil Lord.
How are you?
I'm very well. At what point during your first reading of the book did you sort of decide, you know what, I think that I need to make this as a film?
Well, we got the manuscript in about, I think it was March 2020.
And we got it at about 6 p.m.
That's right.
So I would say I knew we were going to make it at about 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Good. You have the exact time.
I know exactly. Yeah, I wrote it in my journal.
Yes, yeah. You memento.
It did memento on my arm. I am very forgetful.
Couldn't put it down. Stayed up till 4 finishing it. It was one of those things where had to find out what was happening. And there's several twists in the end that I didn't see coming. Yeah. And that sort of was like a thing. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was surprised by this. And it was emotional. It was funny. It was dramatic. It was everything. It felt like something that would be really hard to make. So it was perfect for us.
Yeah. I know I read your guys' Reddit AMA, and I know that we share in common the fact that the ending of the book just made me burst into tears.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very excited to see how you guys handle that in the film. I want to talk about the fact that this movie, at its heart, is a buddy comedy. And I have to imagine that this must have been comfortable space for you guys just so I explore.
They say a director only really makes one movie like 10 to 15 times. And ours seems to be a buddy comedy.
What was appealing specifically, though, about the relationship between Grace and Rocky in that context?
I mean, it's such an unusual partnership. It's two beings working together with the stakes being absolutely huge, right? It's not just like hanging out and being pals. It's worlds are at stake, and they come from such different backgrounds and such different cultures and such different everything, and they have to find a way to work together. And that was what's really exciting about it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's amazing about the book that I find so inspiring is it asks the question, can adult men make friends if the universe depends on it?
It's not clear.
It's not clear. So, it's not a given. And the thing that I love about watching these two people connect is the stakes could not be higher and the barriers between them could not be greater. And so the movie is about watching people accommodate one another in service of this great big task. And so one of the things I love about the movie is like you get to hear the world from Rocky's point of view. And one of the scenes that I love is that Ryan figuring out that the way he perceives the world is not the way Rocky perceives the world. Yes. And he has to make an accommodation to Rocky to figure that out. And Rocky's making all kinds of accommodations for Grace. He like, we'll compromise on the gravity. We can do your gravity and I'll work with it.
This is your first time, I believe, working with Ryan Gosling. How long has he been on your radar to collaborate with?
You know, we met him many years ago, over a decade ago, and have been wanting to work together on something for a long time. Huge fan of his. Every time he does something, you're like, I can't believe he can do that too. Yeah. He can do everything. It's really, I can't imagine anybody else being able to do this part because it takes so much like drama, emotion, heart, humor, and he can do it all.
And one of my favorite performances of his is in Nice Guys.
Here we go.
Where he's just like bringing it,
right,
and has so many different moves, and he's sticking his neck out for that movie over and over again. And we're so lucky to have him because he did the same thing for this picture.
I think there's such an interesting through line there from Jump Street, which I believe, aside from really announcing you two as like these comedy gods in the film space, and I'm allowed to say that because it's my opinion.
Comedy gods are the worst gods.
Demigods.
Everything they do is just for their own enjoyment and laughter. They're not helping anybody.
You though, we're believers.
But about medicine, Phil.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
I think that was Gandhi.
Wouldn't it be funny if we messed with Job, like zing? Anyway, you're gonna use that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all.
It's
all in. It all stays in. No, but what I did with the point that I'm trying to make though is that I see a really interesting through line The other amazing contribution that movie made was announcing Channing Tatum as this comedy savant. And he is so excellent in that space. And Nice Guys, Knife Guys as well, if we want to go right down to it, both did the same for Gosling. I want to know what was appealing to you about sort of marshaling this expectation of those two actors to very surprising ends.
I mean, the funny thing is you meet those people, you meet Channing, you meet Ryan, and your expectation is that they're going to thrive because they're playful, they're funny, and their posture as performers, both of those people, is to be generous to the other characters in the scene. The joke of Channing is that he's this tall, handsome person, and he plays the low man in the scene. And he's in a scene with Jonah, who always seeks the high ground. And so it becomes like an amazing duo. The thing about Ryan is he is always seeking to elevate the people around him as a person, as a performer. And so it really works when your scene partner is a cute little rock, that he confers status always onto Rocky by like elevating him to a peer.
Well, something about Rocky in that context that I'm very excited to talk to you about. I'll be honest, when I saw the trailer for this movie, I thought Rocky was completely CG. And when I learned that it was a puppet, and not because I was looking at it expecting CG, I think I'm just trained to imagine like, oh, such a difficult creature, it must be. But you actually brought this to life with Neil Scanlon, who's obviously a legend. Talk about collaborating with him on this.
We had worked with him before and had an amazing experience. He and his whole team are geniuses, and so when it came time to design Rocky and build the creature that we wanted to have on set, he was the only person we really wanted to talk to. And we spent a long time working with him building a puppet that could be really there on set so that Ryan could have someone to perform with, a scene partner that was really there, who wasn't just talking to a tennis ball the whole time. And we got James Ortiz, an amazing lead puppeteer who really embodied the spirit of Rocky and was the great scene partner for Ryan to have. At the end of the day, it ended up being a marriage between puppetry and animation, and that was seamless. But the fact that it was always there, and the fact that so much of it comes from this team of puppeteers, is what makes you believe that it's really there.
I'm very fascinated by the process of adaptation, and I'm curious to know, in comparison to something like the Spider-Verse films, which are sort of more of a pastiche of different dynamics and storylines from the comics, this is a very direct adaptation of the novel. How are those processes different for you?
We've adapted a bunch of things in our career, and the key to it for us is to capture the spirit of the thing that we love and not be dogmatic about how we convey that. This is the movie where we were probably the most dogmatic because we wanted to always honor the scientific problems that Andy created and never take shortcuts. Though we wanted the book to make our lives really hard. And we wanted the problems that Ryan had to solve to be genuine.
Hiring Drew Goddard was a really important part of that. He did such an amazing job with The Martian. He's been a longtime friend of ours, and it was a thing where like, we'll wait for you because we need you to help figure out how to take this book, which has a lot in it, and bring it into the size of a movie and shape of a movie. And he did an amazing job.
But like part of it is like on Spider-Verse, we take the origin stories and the things that have been written in the comics to sort of be gospel. Then we do all kinds of things like naughty stuff that you're not supposed to do. But we go to the effort to like, this character's been in 3 issues or 15 pages of a comic, and we call the creator and go like, where does she live? What would she look like? What would she think about this? We want to honor that stuff. So it's great preparation for this, where we want to honor what Andy did and then be playful with it.
And having Andy as a producer on the movie and being around, we were constantly texting and calling him, going like, okay, the atmosphere of Adrian, if the ship was in the atmosphere, what exactly would happen? What would it look like? And what color would it be?
Yes.
And he was always able to have a smart scientific answer or a creative answer if there wasn't one.
Or what do Rocky's internal organs look like? How do they operate? How do his pneumatics work? And he has those details. He writes as though Rocky is real, that astrophagia is a real thing, that tell me about real stuff. So that helps the reader believe it. And like, if we act as if those things are all exactly true, then it helps the audience believe it.
Kind of jumping off of that a little bit, obviously, when we're doing a film adaptation of a book, you have to make these things real. And one of the things that I was so curious to see how you guys handled is Iridian engineering and physiology, certainly.
Yes.
What were some of your inspirations for realizing that on a screen, like the Blip A, for instance?
Right. So we had Charlie Wood was our production designer, and he had an amazing team of art directors and artists that we really wanted to do something that felt like it made logical sense, but it wasn't something you'd ever seen before. And it's always hard in this space to create a look that doesn't feel like it's familiar or like it's a ripoff of something. So we went through a lot of different rounds and found an aesthetic that felt like this is the way that Rocky works. It's a lot of angles, right angles in space. Corners in space is really hard to do.
But not if you're working with xenon.
Yes.
So it came as an outgrowth of like, tell me about this material, Andy. Oh, it's so strong that you can have corners in space. Got it. Yeah, and then thinking about how would an animal make something? Just culturally, like, what does their pottery look like? You would think aesthetically they would gravitate towards these forms that are kind of organic, right? So that's how we arrived at this thing that sort of looks like a space nest.
Right. And it's a 5-legged creature, so there's a lot of pentagonal and hexagonal shapes in it and all that type of stuff. There's a lot of discussion about it. There's so much more thought that goes into it than you might imagine. Every little detail, every little prop.
You nailed something that feels true to the book, even just from seeing the trailer.
Oh, great.
So excited to see that. Something that comes to mind for me as a lover of science fiction, when I hear the catalyst of a plot for a space movie being our sun is dying, a movie that really comes to mind for me is Sunshine.
Of course.
Yeah.
Was that, I have to imagine that was on your mind in terms of not only just looking at the strengths of that movie, but also finding things to avoid.
I watched that movie a long time ago, and then probably in preparation for this, but we try to get that stuff out of the way really early so that you're not thinking about it too deeply while you're really making it, so that you just go like, okay, I see what those moves are. Those are moves. Like, I don't want to repeat anyone else's moves. I want the movie to feel really original. So hat tip, like, that's a beautiful, thank you for the inspiration. Now we need to like make something that's our own.
And it goes in a different direction.
You're trying not to like, sometimes in pre-production, like we looked at like Alien for its photography. It's really special. But like, we try not to reference stuff once we're really making the thing. Yeah.
Well, Project Hail Mary is such a unique and heartfelt story. We're so excited to see it. That is my time with you guys. Thank you so much for talking.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your very cheerful shirt.
Oh, thank you very much. I stole it off somebody on the street. Sorry to them. Project Hail Mary comes out on March 20th. Do not miss it. And also do not miss the rest of FanFest. There's plenty more coming up.